have it? Say, wait a while, I'll wait for you. John chapter 8, verse 30. It says, as he spake these words, many believed on him. Then said Jesus to those Jews which believed on him, if ye continue in my word, then are ye my disciples indeed. Semicolon, and ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. They answered him, we be Abraham's seed, and were never in bondage to any man. How sayest thou, ye shall be made free? Jesus answered them, verily, verily, I say unto you, whosoever committeth sin is the servant of sin. And the servant abideth not in the house forever, but the Son abideth forever. If the Son therefore make you free, ye shall be free indeed. I know that ye are Abraham's seed, but ye seek to kill me, because my word hath no place in you. I speak that which I have seen with my Father, and ye do that which ye have seen with your father. They answered and said unto him, Abraham is our father. Jesus saith unto them, if you were Abraham's children, you would do the works of Abraham. But now ye seek to kill me, a man that hath told you the truth, which I have heard of God. This did not Abraham. Ye do the deeds of your father. Then said they to him, we be not born of fornication. We have one Father, even God. Jesus said unto them, if God were your father, you would love me. For I proceeded and come from God. Neither came I of myself, but he sent me. Why do ye not understand my speech? Even because ye cannot hear my word. 44, ye are of your father the devil, and the lusts of your father ye will do. He was a murderer from the beginning, and abode not in the truth, because there is no truth in him. When he speaketh a lie, he speaketh of his own, for he is a liar and the father of it. And because I tell you the truth, ye believe me not. And I'm going to pause right there. And I do like the part of the text that goes up just a little bit further and says, ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. Let's pause. Father, thank you. It's your word. We bring it back to you. We know that man does not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds out of your mouth. No one has come to hear what I've had to say per se. I don't have enough wisdom, knowledge within myself. But Father, we pray that you will, by your Holy Spirit, give us what we need to hear what we need to know. But then also let your word be life transforming in Jesus' name, that we might be the disciples that you've called us to be. In Jesus' name we pray. People God say amen. You shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. The question this morning, what will you do with truth? What will you do with truth? I think that some of us may have missed it as you look at these opening passages. The text says that many believed on him. That it was a good, positive beginning. It sounded good. In fact, perhaps if you had not read this story before, you may be surprised that the story took the negative turn that it did. Did you hear how it began as such a good story, such a positive story? Many believed on him, and then just began speaking to who? He began speaking to the unbelievers, right? No, he began speaking to them that believed, and yet as he's speaking to them that believe, suddenly a conversation which began that should have been, or at least we imagine would have been positive, certainly begins to deteriorate right before our very eyes. And the people that we would have expected to accept Jesus and to accept his word and to accept his doctrine have now begun to turn on him. And now he begins to say that you're of your father, the devil. It's like, oh my gosh, what in the world has happened here? I think this is a good time to pause and talk about the very nature of truth. Truth is absolute. We believe that truth is absolute as Bible-believing Christians. The Bible, in fact, does not seek to argue that truth exists. The Bible assumes that truth exists. It does it on the basis of its own authority. The thought process is that truth is whatever God says that it is. And so therefore, while we have the benefit of science to help us explain truth, theology does not look to science to prove that truth exists. We believe that truth exists. In fact, the psalmist says, thy word is truth. In other words, truth is truth because God said it. Not because it lines up with our ideologies, not because it lines with our philosophies, and not because we can explain it. I think one of the difficulties that we have in society today is that sometimes we think that truth is only truth if it's simple and easily explainable. But there are certain things, we've been talking about the tensions over the past couple of weeks, there are certain things that are true even if it's hard for you to understand them. And so it is absolutely true that we are sanctified and seated with him in heavenly places, and we are healed by his stripes, even if I wake up with a headache. Right? It is truth because God has said it to be so. And so if there's a report that we are to believe, we tend to believe the report of the Lord rather than our own report most of the time. Right? Now, even if you don't believe, or even if somebody out there doesn't believe, that doesn't make God's word of none effect. It just means they're wrong. And I think that even that language sounds foreign to many of us because we've become so accustomed to being politically correct that we no longer even think in terms of absolutes anymore. So it's more along the lines of, well, I believe this way and you just see it a different way, but the Bible is more black and white on that in many things, and in this instance, it actually does believe in something called truth. And I guess that now that I've started down this path, I must tell you about its corollary. The Bible also believes that some things are absolutely lies. And so what you get in this discourse between Jesus and these people who started out believing is this dichotomy that exists between truth and lie. And no, they are not the same. No, they are not exchangeable. No, you can't just make a lie truth just because you want it to be. No, truth is over here and lie is over there, and they are absolutely not the same. And you don't get the option of deciding what's going to be true because it fits better into your life choices or very based on what you feel or how you want things to be. Truth, we've said before, is defined by the word of God. Now, Jesus says something very interesting. He says, and ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. And he says this to an audience of people that presumably have believed him. Remember, I told you, he speaks this to people that believe. And by believe, perhaps what's probably happened, you remember this is the book of John. John writes, and he's really recording a series of signs. And these things are written that you might believe on him that the Father has sent, right? So the understanding is they see these signs and they say, wow, this is it. This is the Messiah, right? And if you're not careful, you'll think that belief in and of itself is enough to transition them into discipleship. And Jesus kind of indicates something a little bit different. He tells them they got to do something like continuing in his word. There's this whole mindset of, and then you shall know the truth, and truth shall make you free. We've already equated word with truth and truth with word. If you continue in my truth then you're with my disciples. What will you do with truth? How will you handle the truth? And so your ability to handle the truth actually has an impact on the successfulness of your discipleship journey. Your ability to handle the truth, not so much your ability to handle the truth about others, but your ability to handle the truth about yourself. And the Bible says that we are sanctified by the truth, right? It's the truth that sanctifies, that we're sanctified by the word, and your ability to handle and to internalize and to agree with the word and to become intimately acquainted with truth determines your ability to have freedom. Here's the thing, what Jesus promises they don't have an appetite for. I think that's kind of probably of the world today, right? We present a gospel that says, believe in the Lord Jesus, like, yes, so I can be rich. Yes, so I can drive a nice car. Yes, so that everybody's been treating me bad, God will now be on my side and beat them up. There's a whole lot of host of reasons why people decide that they want to enter into this thing called Christianity. In most cases, not for the main and true reason. The Bible says the Son of Man was manifested to destroy the works of the devil. For the purpose of what? That we might be free from the devil. But here's the issue. These people, they believed he was the Messiah, but they didn't believe he was in bondage. Right? They believed one dimensional truth, but they didn't believe the other. They believed, yes, Messiah, that's great. Now, you'll remember in Matthew 1:21, he shall call his name Jesus, where he shall save his people from their sins. These people have a different take on that. Their mindset is, no, he's come to hopefully do a political revolution. And I know this is the time of year now where we're starting to think about elections, and I get it. The older I get, the more I get the Jesus that they wanted him to be. No, really, I really start to get it. When you're younger, you don't care as much about politics. You don't. Because most things in life just happen automatically. You don't really give a whole lot of thought to the decisions that are made in the governmental structures, etc. But as you begin to get older, you start to understand how this actually impacts that. You start to look, you begin to say, wow, this government is just messed up. Now, don't feel badly. Everybody thinks that about their government, apparently. It's just a matter of whether you have the freedom to say it or not. Right? Because no matter where you travel in the world, people say something about the government perspective. It's either unfair, this people get things that I don't get, whatever the case might be, because human government is, first of all, human. There are inequities, all those sort of things that exist that make people very frustrated, that the people in power are the people in power, and nobody likes the people in power unless they are the people in power, and the people that get in power become just like the people that were in power before them. There's a whole book, it's called Animal Farm. I'm not here to preach Animal Farm, but it's a good story for you to know. And that is that in Animal Farm, right, there were the animals, and they were there, and it was this farmer, and the farmer was doing what he wanted to do, and they felt the farmer had such great freedom, etc. So one day, guess what they did? They killed the farmer, and they thought that they killed the farmer, things would be better and things would be different. Now the animals would be in control. Because who told these humans they could tell us what to do? All of a sudden, as time goes on, the pigs emerge as the smartest ones. I don't know how that happened. But over time, I'm skipping a lot, but over time, guess what happens? The pigs become just like the farmers were. The only thing is the actors change, the system remains in place. And I don't care whether it's an African American in office, whether it's a Jew in office, whether it's a Catholic in office, we've had all those now at this point, right? I don't care which one it is. The truth of the matter is that as long as there's a human in office, there's going to be something left to be desired. Where we mess up is when we think that by getting some different person in there is going to solve all the problems. That's kind of what they were hoping, that Jesus would get in there and solve all the problems there. And he will eventually, but not in this government. Because what he's looking to do, he's not just coming to take what we've established as human government and make some small modifications. No, he's going to revolutionize the whole thing. He has to blow this whole thing up and start again and start anew. That's really what he wants to do. And they were kind of hoping that some kind of beginning of that would be happening in their lifetime, and that Jesus would come and see these evil Romans that have taken over their land and, get rid of them and put us all in our rightful place. Right? That's what the thought process was. And yet Jesus was more concerned about their spirituality than he was their geographical bondage, as it were, right? Than it was the fact that they were being colonized by the Romans. Because what's the sense of being free politically when you're still bound spiritually? But they were so focused on their political bondage that they could not even see their own internal bondage. And so when he comes and offers them the promise of freedom, their mind says that I don't need that. And while that may sound funny to us as Christians who have been taught for so long to believe in the power of Jesus Christ to set free and deliverance and all those sort of things, we must acknowledge that there are many within our society that are similarly of a similar mindset who really say, you know what, yeah, we need a more loving society, etc. But, freedom from it? No, I'm not in bondage. I'm sorry, you got me confused with someone else. I don't need to be free. I'm already free. I'm an American. Land of the free, home of the brave. I'm good. And most people do believe the fallacy that I'm good, and then the gospel comes and tells them truth about themselves they're not really willing in some cases to hear or to believe. And if you can accept the truth about what the word says concerning you, then you can actually have true freedom. But if you reject the truth, it doesn't make you free. It just means that you continue your delusion. And unfortunately, that's the choice that remains for many in society today, that hear the truth of God's word, just Jesus spoke it, and who have the struggle of deciding whether we want to internalize this or not. And this is not just something you do on the day that you get saved, quote unquote, where you decide I want to be a Christian. but it's an ongoing thing as Jesus presents to you heightened levels of truth, as he begins to show you the truth about who you are, what his requirements are, and all of those types of things. I think that most of us would agree that the extent to which you finally come to accept the truth is the extent to which you really, really get free in life. You can never be free as long as you're lying. You can never be free as long as you are in denial. Now, I'm not going to, go through the whole, 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, and everybody else anonymous. But I think that most of us know that one of the first steps, you've got to admit that you have a problem. You've got to admit it. You've got to stop denying it. What the Bible does that people do not like is that it says to the person that's a liar, you are a liar. No, you don't understand. My wife was about to be killed. And so I couldn't tell them where she was because then she could have gotten killed. And the Bible does not give you the option of, well, don't tell lies except for in this scenario. It actually says, no, despite any excuse that you want to make, you are still alive. And nobody likes that because we all want to be able to excuse lies. Not when other people do it, of course, but when we do it, it's very important that there be some sort of loophole. It's funny, whenever you give us a chance to make our own laws, we always create laws with loopholes. As much as we talk about the fact that the tax system is broken and it's complicated, etc., at the end of the day, if we put any of you in office, odds are you're going to create a loophole that exists in order to serve your own best interest. We are in the business of loopholes, and unfortunately, when it comes to God and his work, he does not generally give us loopholes. And so for a long time in our lives, many times, if we are people that are oriented towards morality, what we generally do is we will acknowledge that we have issues, but we've gotten very good at justifying the reason why we have the issues that we do. And here's the hint, it's never our fault. Right? And so if as children we're disobedient to parents, it's not that we're disobedient and rebellious, Khadijah. It's not that. It's that our parents are just way too demanding. If they would just stop asking for so much stuff, we could be better Christians. I will tell you this in transparency, Mother, you can close your ears. But I remember thinking, Lord, this is before I got saved, I said, Lord, the hardest part about being saved is having to listen to this woman that's going to tell me that I got to like clean. All right? And I said, Lord, it's so much easier to be saved when you're older because nobody tells you to clean anything. All right? I said, no, you don't understand. She really was like obsessive about like clean. And I was thinking if I was clean, she didn't think it was clean enough. It was like, she had this whole definition of what clean was. It was like hard. All right? And then I couldn't go out until the bathrooms were clean. And it's like this whole thing. Right? It's this whole thing. And you think that when you get grown, that you're going to be free from these oppressive people that are constantly trying to tell you what to do. And then guess what happens? You get older and you realize that it's not the people around you that are crazy. Because those rules still exist in varying forms. No matter where you go, you can't escape them. You've got to at some point deal with you and recognize that it's you that has issues. And it's like, yeah, now that you're at work and your boss is saying, yeah, I know you leave at 5 p.m., but we need you to stay till 7. You don't get to say, well, I'm grown now because he doesn't care. And you get action if you want to, but you got to go back and read the text. And then you find out the text says, servants, obey your masters, which really is about this whole notion of, I want to be a good Christian, I need to be a good employee, because I don't represent Jesus well. If I'm not good employee, and so you escape your parents' house, you jump right out of the frying pan into the fire. And so unless you deal with the truth about your rebellion, unless you deal with the truth about your, I don't like anybody telling me what to do, unless you deal with the truth about yourself in terms of areas of submission and things of that nature, guess what? That will follow you your whole life and you'll never get free. Freedom comes when you say, you know what? I don't like authority. I don't like people telling me to do. God, help me with that. And then you begin to do things as unto Lord. You know what? I know it's this person that's me this, but you know what? Behind this God is actually looking for me to demonstrate obedience and submission in this area. As I'm obedient, as I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, I'm actually honoring the Lord. Lord, help me to honor you in this. And all of a sudden, even though you're doing the same stuff, your attitude about it begins to change. And you feel a freedom because you're like, you know what? I know that they think that they're, and sometimes you get some evil bosses. They're trying to manipulate and take advantage of you, but you begin to say, you know what, and all this time they think I'm doing it for them. They don't even know behind the scenes, I am doing this for the Lord. And it doesn't matter if it was them or Mickey Mouse, I'd still be doing this because it's so not about them, but it's so about Jesus. And that truth begins to liberate you, and you have this new amazing freedom. So where others are like, oh no, I'm scared. It's like, well, I haven't been doing this job for them anyway. Oh, they're about to leave. You know, what if they don't put in a good word for you? Well, I'm not really trying to get necessarily just a good word from them. And then what God has for me is going to be for me. The promotions, you know, you can sit there and try to get to this person, get promoted, whatever. But I know that promotion comes from God. And when God is ready, so I'm going to get what I want, whether it's this company or another one. But no matter where I am, I'm going to keep on serving. Jesus, you go from boss to boss to boss to boss. You trying to serve this person, that person, make everybody happy. I'm just trying to make these happy. I'm free. A whole different way of looking at things. I remember when my companies, when my people, my job, aren't you nervous? It's like, oh, no, not exactly. God is the one that's really paying me behind the scenes. You don't see it. That's really what it is. There is a freedom when you are able to acknowledge truth, particularly about yourself. There's a liberation that comes there when you're able to acknowledge truth about yourself, where you can begin to understand it. And the thing about it is that God will begin to, oh, I'll tell you something. A story you don't know, but a story that I know, is that, especially as prophetic people that hear from God all the time, right? And so there I am. It's a recent day, it really is. And I have this thing, I really hate it. People take clothes out of the dryer, they don't fold them up. When they're my clothes, I'm going to my clothes. Because then they're all wrinkly and messed up, don't I? I hate that, don't I? And so I had to put clothes in the washer. I had my clothes because somebody didn't wash my clothes for me, so I had to do it myself, and they washed their own clothes. They just totally ignored my clothes. So I take my clothes, put them in the washer, right? But I noticed there are clothes in the dryer. And these are a certain person's clothes, you know, one of our young people's clothes in the dryer. And I said, oh no, I'm going to need, they should have got these clothes out. I'm going to need this dryer to put my clothes in afterwards. And so I take those clothes, you know what we do? We're adults, I'm an adult, they're kids. They should have, I took all those clothes and I was put inside of the basket, and I said, now when my clothes get out, I can like do it. And I heard the Lord speak to me, and he said, you're going to fold those clothes. I said, I'm going to do what? And so I'm the adult. And here I am sitting in Will 2's room, taking out each piece of clothes. Did you notice? Each clothes folded extra neat, because I ain't doing it for him. And it's just that funny, but everyone knows the voice of God is just that real. All right? Everybody wants God to speak to them about, oh, the Lord showed me in a dream that you like are what go be like. But no, you've got to hear him in the practical things in life. And it's a very funny story. You see there's a truth in there somewhere. Right? And he didn't tell me to fold your clothes. But really, and so I'm sitting there, because because they go back to this, like, now remember last time you took your clothes out. Right, now I'm folding clothes, like, remember how you responded when he just like threw those clothes in there? It's like, even though it's like, was food there? It's like, I gotta fold these boys' clothes. I sit there, I fold those clothes all nicely and put them neatly inside the bed and set them on. It was enough. I don't know how many things it was. It was more than 5. But I said that I fold those things up. That's the point of the story. I did not plan on folding those things. I just wanted to store those things in the basket and call it a day. Wasn't it funny how God can speak to you and show you things like, oh yeah, I do need to do that. And of course, it may not be your children's clothes. It may not be, but what is it God perhaps speaking to you about that you need to fit? And you may feel as though, I don't have to do it for them. I don't work for them. I'm the one in authority. I'm the parent. Like, what in the world? Wasn't it funny that oftentimes when God speaks to us, he oftentimes They sort of last the first or last. And those principles that we talk about, with respect to he that is greatest among you being servant of all, that somehow those things do not disappear, but they keep coming back up. As you get higher and higher, quote unquote, in the Lord, he starts pushing those things on you more and more, and you start being more and more like Jesus and less like the person you thought you were going to be, going to be special and wonderful. No, really, but you right? That more and more he calls you to greater and greater levels of service and humility. Because what's notably absent from these people isn't, and I don't have my cell phone on, so I don't know what time it is. What's notably absent from these people is any sense of humility. That don't mean y'all supposed to love. We're supposed to be not knowing together. Right? Because what happens is that when he tells them the truth, they begin to lean back upon their pedigree. Well, you don't understand. We're Abraham. See, you don't understand. I'm from West Oak Lane. You don't understand. I'm from the good neighborhood. I'm from a good family name. And they lean so much on that. But how do you know that your pedigree, your background, what neighborhood you come from, and not even how much money you have on the bank is a good defense when God confronts you with truth. But how often do we do that when we hear something, perhaps especially if it comes from another person, and they say something and we know it's true, but instead of receiving truth, we go, no, you don't understand, I'm a good person. And we lean on something that we know about ourselves in order to try to refute the truth that is being spoken to us, because we just don't want to accept truth when it's spoken in our direction. Now, of course, there's an obligation to speak the truth in love, the text says. God, when he sends truth, he sends grace and truth. They are wonderfully coupled together. But what you've got to be mindful of is, how receptive am I to the truth, really? Now, this is a bad movie quote, right? And you all know it, right? Where it says, you can't handle the truth, you know? Right? But it really is that whole mindset of, how well are you able to handle the truth? What will you do with it? You really only get two choices. Either you accept it, or, and though you will never call it that, you reject it. Right? Yeah, this is true, but it's not really true for me. It's really this other person. They're really the problem. It certainly isn't me. And I could definitely see this in this text, right? Because the mindset is, yeah, you are confused, Jesus. And I know that we all out here in the Middle East, and we might start looking like each other, but we, the Jews, we are not the Gentiles. They are the ones that need to be free. We are free because we are Abraham's seed. We are free. We know who we are. And yet their strong confession was not able to circumvent truth. Now, we get really good at that at church. We're like, I'm the righteousness of God in Christ. Yes, that's true, but you're still lying. Right? And so we can sometimes hide behind things and not be honest. That's a sad thing that happens in, larger churches, not like ours. But, sometimes in church, that's the kind of thing that happens that people, it's unfortunate. You do know that you sort of stole that money, you stole those funds. No, you don't understand. God was speaking to me. I'll never forget the story that happened where somebody had requested funds from the government to do some special community programs. And then, unfortunately, there was this need that came up in the church. It was the building had messed up. And they took the funds that the government had given and utilized it for another purpose. It's like, you can't do that. No, but the Lord spoke to me, and church going like, no. This was appropriated for this. You don't get the option of doing something different just because you want to do something different. And that's really, and although I guess, again, might not be the scenario that many of us find ourselves in, but how often does God say, I want you to do this, and we kind of like, but I feel, I'm going to go this way. God wants you to understand, I want to go this way, etc. And we never really acknowledge we don't like it when truth comes to us. We get offended, then we get defensive, and something that should have been really simple and just with nonsense. You know what? You're right. Turns into this whole other thing because we like to hear the truth about everybody else. except for ourselves. And so Jesus, words in red, I like great words, instructs them that something miraculous happens if you ever allow yourself to know truth. And that's why the devil doesn't want people to know truth. And that thing that many times that you feel, in addition to your flesh, many times when truth comes to you, with the assignment of bringing you freedom. And truth always comes to set you free. Even when it comes under the disguise of feeling like it's embarrassing you, truth is coming to set you free. What the devil tries to do is get you to reject it, as if by rejecting it, it makes the truth a lie. Now here's the weird thing. Many times people are more receptive to lies and more interested in lies than they are to the truth. But faithful, the text says, are the wounds of a friend. A good friend will tell you the truth so that you will know, and so that you can grow, and so that you can develop, and so that you can be better. Because at the end of the day, truth makes us better. Right? Lies keep us then. If truth sets us free, lies actually keep us in bondage. You will never be free as long as you're believing a lie. Right? So lies actually keep us in bondage. The source of truth is very important to us then. The reason why the Bible is being attacked the way that it is in our day and time is because the Bible is a source of truth that does not change. It always cracks me up. People say, yeah, so y'all those holiness people, times have changed. Y'all just ain't keeping up with the times. You know, it's like everything else is changing. You know, you need to change, you know. It's like truth does not change. If it was true decades ago, it's still true now. Truth doesn't just pick up and change because everybody decided they want to do something different. No, truth remains truth. Truth remains truth. As it says, because you my word, you my disciples. And so there's something unique about the biblical text. And the biblical text will cause you to do either one or two things. Either you will accept it or you will reject it and make up some rational reason as to why you don't have to comply, why you don't like it, what the case might be. But the truth remains the truth no matter how you feel about it. Right? Because truth does not change just because it hurts your feelings. And sometimes, if you walk with God for long enough, he will say some things that perhaps may hurt your feelings. Like, I never saw myself that way. I never looked at it that way. I never thought that was... And God will show you the truth about things, and then you have to acknowledge those truths and say, oh my gosh, that's really true, as if God ever lied. But it's like, oh my gosh, that really is true. He's right, as if he's ever wrong. Wow, he's right about this. And you've got to let God take those next steps that will then liberate you and set you free. But it starts with an acknowledgement of what truth is. It starts with an acknowledgement of what truth is. And so, for many people, it's like, yeah, you know, I just got to do for me and mine, you know, that's what I'm about. It's like selfish. No, I'm not being selfish. I'm going to say I've been taken advantage of by so many people for so long. It's like, but do you have more than you? Yeah. Can you help somebody else? Yeah, I could, but you know, they ain't never helped me out. Selfish. No, I'm not selfish. I'm just smart now. See how? And so we don't want to hear the truth about how perhaps certain situations have actually made us bitter. And bitter is not the same as better, right? And because of our inability to deal with that truth or to receive that truth, all of a sudden we justify things and we don't even acknowledge that, oh my goodness, there is some truth in that. And so when you start talking to people about relationships, etc., and people that deal with fear of abandonment, right? Fear of being alone, people that deal with loneliness, that deal with that, and you talk to us like, because I'm looking at your track record and you're just choosing the same. No, I'm not. You don't understand. Right? I'm looking objectively. I'm just saying, it's your pattern. You like somebody that's controlling because you think they're not going to go anywhere as long as you are able to accommodate their requests and their wishes. No, that's not what it is. You don't know what you're talking about. But you see what I'm saying? People don't like to acknowledge truth. And guess what? As long as they don't acknowledge truth about that, they will stay in those same repetitive cycles over and over and over again. When people don't acknowledge the role that hurt and pain plays in their lives, they will keep repeating cycles over and over and over again. And unfortunately, not really be able to experience freedom. In some cases, God will actually just have you just need to acknowledge that when this happened, this made you mad. Stop lying to yourself. Right? So just yeah, but I'm okay, I'm all right, I'm good. You know, it don't even bother me. I'm not even fazed by lies. I don't care. I don't even care about that. All right, so when they walk in, why are you acting like that? Why do you get all tense? Like, no, it's nothing. They ain't gonna give you that. No, I'm above that. No, you need to acknowledge what they did made you angry. Come on, tell the truth to yourself. Right? Because oftentimes under anger is something called pain, and you've got to deal with that point of pain if you're ever going to be free, because you say you're free, but every time they walk in, you like all tense up and you upset, and your heart's all beating and palpitating, etc. I don't think that's anybody's definition of freedom. I think that you're in bondage somewhere, right? But if you're not honest with yourself, and again, might not be your exact example, but it's about acknowledging truth as God presents it, so that you can have that freedom that Christ offers. God did not come in flesh in order for us to remain in bondage. He did not come in flesh in order for us to remain with all of the baggage and all of the weight that life wants to throw on us and leave us with. But he's giving us the tools of truth that we're able to address anything that we encounter. And so, there are times when prayer is about, and I didn't get it. There was a time when I did not get the David prayers. And if you don't know what David prayers are, just read through the Psalms, you'll run into some of them. It's like, let his bowels gush out like water. It's like, wow, David, really? You mad? You mad today? Let him be cursed to the third and fourth generation. It's like, you know, it's like this really, 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 really strong stuff. And you almost wonder how this even made it into your Bible. It's like, this don't sound like what Jesus would say. But it is what we would say. And one of the things that I acknowledge in closing with this, one of the things I really do appreciate about the Bible is its amazing honesty. It is an amazingly honest book. And so Paul will spend the first 6 chapters of Romans creating this whole argument about freedom from sin, and then we'll get to around chapter 7 or so. They're talking about something, yeah, but the good that I would do, those things I do not. And so people that are novice in text will say, well, that's a contradiction. It's like, no, it's not a contradiction, that's life. It's the tension, it's the struggle, it's the working it out, it's the, it's like, I know this, but it's this, and I'm trying to, right? And that's the honesty of Christian living, of living in between this is who I am in Christ, this is who I am outside of him, you know, if I ever left my own devices. This is who he has purpose for me to be, and that transition between what he says I am, what I'm going to be, and how I'm feeling right now, right? It's sort of like when we deal with afflictions and sicknesses, when you have to counsel people that have loved ones that are transitioning, right? And it's like, yes, he that believes with him will never see death. And then, but they're dying right from under us. No, but they're going to live, right? But in between life and life is this passageway, and it's like, that don't feel good. This don't feel right. And you've got to help people work through that. Yes, he has said live, and yes, there is resurrection. And how do I deal with it when life actually has those two things at odds, apparently one with the other, and yet they're both true? First is in the sight of the Lord is the death of the saints. That's true. Right? You shall live and not die. That's true too. Right? And reconciling those is what we do basically on a daily basis, right? It's like, I am an overcomer, but I failed my test. I'm the head and not the tail. And yet I was in gym class and I couldn't get up the rope. I can leap over walls, I can jump through troops, I can't jump over the horse. Y'all laughing, but it's true, I couldn't jump over the horse. I really couldn't, I tried over and over again. Right? I can do all things because of strength is me. This ain't working. It would have been nice if that worked, that would have been kind of cool. Right? Y'all would have been impressed. I would have been impressed too. Right? But you've got to receive and embrace truth. And most times we feel like, this is not one of those things that's like, so now pastors, preachers mention that we will listen to them every Sunday and receive and embrace truth. That's not what the purpose of this is. The purpose of it is not for you to come on Sunday mornings and to hear the portion of the truth that I share with you on a weekly basis. No, the point is that when he speaks to you in your own home, as you're going throughout your day, or as he speaks to you on the bus about truth, that you'll hear truth in those moments. Because the greater depths of truth, while the principles are certainly shared here, it becomes real for you in your own personal time. Perhaps for you it's when you're in the shower, perhaps it's when you're going throughout your day, but at some point, truth will confront you right where you are, oftentimes the most inconvenient times. It's not when I was prepared to deal with this. I didn't really want to hear this right now. If I look back over my life, and I've heard very, very strong words to me with respect to myself. It's like, yeah, this issue you never got away, never dealt with it. It didn't come at the time. It's like, now do you want to say this? Like, now? It's like when I'm ready to deal with this, right? But you've got to receive it, and you will not move on until you deal with it. You don't get to skip truth. I mean, I don't like 2 + 2 = 4. Well, you're not getting the multiplication until you accept the truth that's in the addition. I don't like x + y = z². Solve for whatever if x = 3 and whatever. Well, you're not getting to your next level. Well, you're not getting to geometry, right? You kind of need to have that in order to get to geometry. Well, I don't like this, that, the other. We're not getting to derivatives and calculus. Until you accept this level of truth, unfortunately, the higher levels of revelation will be restricted to you. Right? What happens in marriages and relationships? People don't want to tell the truth. Until you tell the truth, you have nothing called intimacy. Right? And until you get based on intimacy, you don't really get to grow as a couple. You never achieve the goal for marriage. What's the goal for marriage? You might know what the goal of marriage is. You know what the goal of marriage is? It's like, oneness is the goal of marriage. Right? Leave father and mother, cleave to his wife, and the twain shall become one flesh. Right? Oneness is the goal of marriage. You're like, oh no, not one of these marriage courses. But really, the goal of marriage is not. And so when people come to us and are like, well, he needs to do things my way, it's like, are you sure you want to get married? Or you just want to get a friend to hang out with? Because the goal of marriage is not, oh, this is my money. Well, this is my money. It's like, no, it don't work that way in marriage. Marriage is about oneness, and it becomes no more I, no more you, but it becomes that, the cliche, it's we, right? Because the goal of marriage is oneness, is the goal of marriage. But you don't get to oneness if we don't have something called truth and honesty, right? Well, do you like this? Yeah, I like it. I can't stand that. It gets on my nerve. So what happens is that there's this tension that's existing because somebody's not being totally honest, right? And so although it might have the outward appearance of these two are walking, right? But the text says two will never walk together except they are absolutely in agreement. But you can't have agreement if there are lies. And so, but I know why we lie, right? Because it's easier, right? And so, you want to see a whole lot of people, men lie a lot. Watch a lot of times men planning with the wedding with the wife. What colors you want? Purple. That's my favorite color. You like this color, honey? Yes, it's great, it's wonderful. Now, he could either say, no, I don't like that color, which many times they'll say, or I don't even care, but won't tell the truth. And then it'll happen, right? And so that's how it begins. And y'all think it's a minor thing, right? And so all of a sudden, we're 3 days before the wedding, and she's like, oh my gosh, this is not the right color. Well, it's no big deal. What do you mean it's no big deal? I thought you like this color. Well, you know, isn't it important? Well, it's not really important. What do you mean you don't care? You should have told me way back then. But now I just spent all this time arguing this because I knew this is the color that we both wanted, and now you say you know the color was? And all of a sudden, things are beginning to erupt. And it seems like it's a small thing until later, after you've been married for 5 years. Yeah, I should have listened to myself. I could not trust you. Ever since we were planning for that wedding, and I just did not, I could just see it then. I should have listened to my parents. You know, like this whole thing. That begins to, it sounds funny to laugh about it, whatever, but isn't that really how it all happens? Little, small things over time begin to build that if you do not address them, all of a sudden, you now find these people are not really walking together. They're still walking in separate directions, and they never achieve. And then then they want to give marriage advice. Yeah, be careful when you get married. Yeah, man, they just take over your whole identity. Just take over. But I wish I had my freedom. It's like, then you shouldn't have got married. I'm not saying that marriage is bondage, but the Bible does say the wife is bound to her husband as long as the husband's alive. It does. Right? And if the husband be dead, she's no longer under bondage. That's what it says. So it is a bonding together. But love is supposed to be one of those things where you willingly bond together for that goal of oneness, and you recognize that there are things that you achieve as one that you could not achieve as separate individuals. Right? Because the text says they are no longer twain, but one. And that's really what the goal of it is. And as we walk with God, right, his will, because no longer my will becomes what's God's will. And I need to be honest with myself when he presents something that I don't like. You know, just like, yes, I do love that. That's a great idea, Jesus. I need to be honest. Oh, the truth is, that's going to be really hard for me because I really don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. I really don't like that person. I don't want to give him a hug. Right? That's the truth of the matter. And so then, if you're honest, God can deal with you, and God begins to break down why it is you don't want to give them a hug. So it's like, yeah, because I don't like them because one day they rolled their eyes at me. But really it's because way back in the day, there was this girl that was on the bus, and she rolled her eyes at you and said, what you looking at? And you keep thinking about it. And now, because of that, it really shouldn't have been that big of a deal. They were having a bad day, they were rolling their eyes. Something not quoting their eyes, you thought they were rolling your eyes. I don't know. Because you've been dealt with that, now you've actually blown this whole thing out of proportion. Because most stuff that happens now that people get upset, it's like, yeah, the issue happened, but it shouldn't have produced that kind of result. There was something deeper there that you didn't deal with. And so if you can be honest and not just be like, oh yes, I love whatever you're supposed to do, but be honest about it, like, and I really don't want this, and allow God to show you what the deeper issue is, then you can be free. That's what I'm suggesting to you, is many times when God presents things to you that are a struggle for you, it's not just to make you miserable. What he's really trying to do is actually push that button so you can actually find out what the root cause of the issue is. Make sense? Right? Like when you're sitting in church and for the preaching long, you gotta find out what makes it so that you don't have a long attention span. We're done, we're standing, we're really done, I'm serious. What will you do with truth? That's really the question. What will you do with truth?